Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
With the auto insurance market constantly changing, call a professional that will put your needs first. Ray Felton State Farm is a team of licensed professionals that will assess your risk, explain coverage in detail, and assure you understand what would happen if you ever found yourself in a claim situation. You can visit rayfelton.com or call their office at 234-284-2996 for a free quote on your home, auto, renters, and life insurance needs.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
Hand-and-built leather goods. Leather goods built for life. Made by hand in the USA, all goods are made with veg-tanned leather. Some of the best quality around and made by a U.S. veteran. Check out their website, www.handbuiltleather.com. GV Art and Design is a creative boutique specializing in original artwork, design, and apparel. With 4 locations in Lakewood, Avon, Willoughby, and Kent, you can visit their store and check out their collections including Cleveland sports teams, Ohio colleges, and much more. Use the code ONTAP10 for 10% off your order. GV Art and Design, original and one of a kind.
Welcome everybody to Sports on Tap. This is the the Sports on Tap High School Football Show presented by Ray Felton State Farm Insurance. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Ed Dick, alongside Rob Troutman, Professor Hype, Sean Duffy, Dr. Hoops, Noah Jacobson, and of course our EVP of social media content, Josh Jeffy. And you're watching this live on our YouTube channel, Sports on Tap. Make sure you subscribe and get the notifications to get those notices whenever we're just about to go on the air. We're getting real close to a good amount of likes here on one of these pages. So we would behoove all of you who are not fans of us yet, like us in any spot so we can get to where we want to go. Make sure you follow us on Twitter /X at SOT Podcast, on Threads at SOT_podcast, and of course on Facebook at Sports on Tap. Our website is sportsontappodcast.com. That's where you're going to get all the information about the score, standings, schedules, and where our recaps are always posted there as well. You get to hear from all of our wonderful sponsors right before the show. Make sure you listen in the middle of the show and at the end of the show for more words from our tremendous sponsors. We have a great show for you guys tonight. We are in the first week of the playoffs, the first week of 6 playoff weeks, mind you, with this recent expansion. And, so the playoffs are starting a little bit earlier than we're all used to. But there's certainly some upsets that happen over the course of the playoffs. We're going to talk about a few of them, just strictly from a seeds perspective here. We were at 4 games this past Friday, so we had a wall-to-wall coverage when it comes to Sports on Tap. So we had 4 games covering a couple different regions. We're also going to hear today from Twinsburg defensive back and wide receiver Jaden and Anthony Benedict, running back from Avon Lake. They're going to join us here a little bit later in the show after we get through our recap. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're going to cover 5 regions with our coverage, mostly because, and the really reason because of that is those are the 5 regions that our teams qualified for. We understand that there's some other regions that we have teams involved in. Unfortunately, they didn't make the playoffs, so we're focusing our efforts more on at least for now, on the regions that we do have teams. So we will be going over Division 1, Region 1, Division 2, Region 5, Division 2, Region 6, Division 3, Region 9, and Division 3, Region 10. So let's get started. We're going to be going all over the place here with where we are at, because some of our conferences span multiple regions. So Sean has put together a wonderful PowerPoint, as always, and he's got Division 1, Region 1 up, the first week schedule and scoreboard there. So let's go through it here real quick. The number 16 seed, Elyria, did play St. Ed's. Let's start with Rob on that one. Rob, I'm not sure how much you have on this one from the Elyria side, but nonetheless, why don't you get us going?
Well, yeah, Elyria came into this game with 1 win, and, they tried to play well against just a dominant Eagles team, and St. Ed's is tough. But quarterback Justin Gobble, he completed 16 of 39 passes at 235 yards in this game. They were able to get some solid drives against St. Edward, but they weren't able to finish on a lot of their possessions. 3 times they moved the ball into St. Edward territory, but twice they turned it over on downs, and once they were lined up to try to get a field goal, but the ball was snapped over the holder's head, and again it resulted in a turnover. St. Edward, they had Thomas Sinai had thrown 2 touchdown passes for the Eagles, and 4 Eagles rushed for touchdowns in this one. So give credit to St. Edward. They did what they had to in a 42-0 win. Elyria drops to 1-10 as St. Edward advances and moves to 9-1. So not much on the Elyria side offensively in this one, but at least you saw this team move the ball. Only 1 win on the season, but you saw them grow a little bit throughout the season. So let's see how they come back next year.
Absolutely, Rob. And Coach Fox's first year in a new program, a bigger program than where he was at Elyria Catholic. So we'll see what he's able to do when he gets another season and a full off season under his belt, and get some more play and get some more teams, gets more involved with the program there. Let's shift over to the Greater Cleveland Conference. Noah Jacobson's going to take us here. We have the number 15 seed Euclid Panthers taking on the number 2 seed Cleveland Heights Tigers, a rematch of the Greater Cleveland Conference play earlier this year. So, Noah, what do you got for Cleveland Heights versus Euclid?
All right, well, thank you, Ed. And yeah, this was a rematch from Week 9, which Cleveland Heights won that game 28-12, and Cleveland Heights was all business in this game, as a game was played in this one. Cleveland Heights would go on to win 39-0 over Euclid. Cleveland Heights' defensive end, Brandon Caesar, had an interception, and he had multiple sacks in this game. He's been one of their highly recruits coming out of their defense. Not Marquise Davis. I've been saying his name a whole lot for the Tigers, but their backup wasn't bad. John Gordon Jr. had 12 carries for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. I haven't said his name too much a whole lot this season for the Tigers. Their quarterback, Lamar Lakes, was 5 of 10 passing for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 17 carries for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. In the end, Cleveland Heights was able to win 35-0 over Euclid. Cleveland Heights will play against Bereavement Park in the next round. Should be a very interesting game. We will talk about that a little later. For Euclid, their season ends at 1-10.
They certainly Cleveland Heights left nothing to chance this time around. I think they learned their lesson from 2 weeks ago and just put their throat in the proverbial jugular there for Euclid and left nothing to chance. So with the win, Cleveland Heights advances. Euclid they had they had a coaching change mid-season, which is usually pretty tough to come back from for really any program. So we'll see what they can do next year with a full off season, hopefully of a similar coach. All right, we're going to shift over to Brunswick. Took on Wadsworth. This is a Medina kind of rivalry that hasn't been played in quite a while. So I think a lot of us were looking forward to seeing how this game is going to end up. So it was a 3 versus 14. Let's start with Noah from the Brunswick side. Brunswick gets 14 points. They just kind of ran into a buzzsaw here. So Noah, what do you got from the Brunswick side?
Well, yeah, for Brunswick, their quarterback, Ethan Roxandic, finished with 16 of 20 for 38 yards and a touchdown. He also did have an interception. Their backup quarterback, Sharon Barnett, was 3 of 5 for 83 yards and a touchdown. Hayden Swarm had 3 catches for 60 yards. Brennan Ghost was one of the guys who had a touchdown in this game. Wide receiver Cooper Neer had 3 catches for 44 yards and a touchdown. For Brunswick, their season ends at 3-8. As they would go on to lose 45-14 against the very tough Wadsworth opponent. And then, Josh, you want to take it away from the Suburban Natty side?
Yeah, thanks, Noah. Yeah, the Natty side, Wadsworth came in and they pretty much stuck to what they've been successful with all year, and that's Will Stack at quarterback and a dominant defense. In fact, Will Stack had a pretty, for him, a status quo game. 17 rushes for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was also 16 of 14 in the air for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. With those 2 numbers, he becomes only the second player in school history to throw and rush for over 1,000 yards each. The last and only other Wadsworth player to do that was Joey Boffman, and that was from the 2016-2017 season. Kyle Figueray added 95 rushing yards and a touchdown reception in this one. And I briefly mentioned the Wadsworth defense. They held Brunswick to a total of 134 yards. They forced 8 punts, and they kept Brunswick to only 2 of 9 on third down. So that's a recipe for success for the Grizzlies, recipe for disaster if you're the Blue Devils. Just Wadsworth coming in and playing really well in this game and moving on.
Yeah, Wadsworth is a well-oiled machine at the moment, and Brunswick definitely ran into the wrong team at the wrong time. Brunswick finishes their season 3-8. Congratulations to Brandon Gross, his first varsity catch, goes for a touchdown. So very, very, very promising there. And Ethan Roxandic is a junior as well. So they got some guys coming back next year. A lot of guys have either experienced as a junior or as sophomores. So the experience factor will certainly be there for the next season. All right, let's shift over to Canton McKinley at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. The Stronsville Mustangs, a 13 seed, traveled to Canton to take on the Bulldogs. Noah can take this one as well. Noah, what do we got for Stronsville versus McKinley?
Yeah, for Stronsville, their quarterback, Harsh Patel, he finished the game. He was 8 of 16 for 58 yards and a touchdown. Stronsville running back Xavier Belvin had 22 carries for 81 yards. But guys, as always, Cam McKinley would go on to beat Stronsville 35-13. Stronsville ends their season at 3-8. But it feels like they've got a lot of younger guys. And it feels like Harsh Patel, Nolan Beard, and a lot of those younger guys, they're going to be back next year. And I think they're going to get better each time, and it feels like they're kind of leaning towards that next step from where they are.
3-8 season for Stronsville, Coach Serino. Unfortunately, they ended on a 6-game losing streak, but they played some really good opponents in there, and not to mention their rival in Brunswick as well. So not a whole lot Not a whole lot they could do against a very, very good McKinley team. McKinley's been very good all season, despite the game against Massillon, and certainly despite the after game activities there. But Strongsville, we'll see what they can do next year and another year under Coach Sereno, presumably. All right, let's shift over. The number 12 seed, the St. Ignatius Wildcats, had a rematch against Mentor, also at Mentor. This was a 12 versus 5 seed. Ignatius got their only OHSAA win over Mentor back in, I think, week 2. So Noah, I want to continue on. You got a few more games in the docket. You got 2 more games in the docket here. So let's see what happens between Ignatius and Mentor.
Yeah, this was a rematch from week 2 in which Mentor lost to Ignatius 16-12. It came with a chance with a field goal in that game. And guys, it was like the same difference in this one. It came down for Mentor to have a chance to tie the game, but in the end, it was no good as St. Ignatius will go on to win 10-7. For Mentor, their quarterback Sky Fox was 16-37 for 209 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Justin Hodge had 7 catches for 112 yards. Wide receiver Austin Van Hust had 6 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown. But St. Ignatius was able to get their second win of the season and their second win over Mentor this season, 10-7. Mentor ends their season at 7-4. But guys, Mentor's done what they've been doing all year. They'll be having a lot of big pieces, and they get Scotty Fox back at quarterback next year, and I think they'll be back in the same position again.
Their losses in the regular season were obviously to St. Ignatius, Cleveland Heights, and Riverside. They lost 3 games by a total of 7 points. Add this one to it, it's 4 games by a total of 10 points. Very competitive team. You can't say enough about Coach Gray and what he's done at Mentor since he's taken over. As you mentioned, Noah, they got a lot they have a lot in the cupboard there. A lot of returners. And Mentor's going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think that's really assumed every year, but we see it on the results and the scoreboard. And Ignatius, again, their record doesn't indicate how good of a team they are. They are a very good team. They played some very tough opponents, both in state and out of state, and they're going to be a problem going forward. So don't let the record fool you. I also want to do a quick shout out. They have a freshman guard, offensive guard. His name is Drake Vandersika. He is the second freshman starter in St. Ignatius history, going back about 100 years. So that's a lot of
wow.
That's high praise for him. He's one of I work with his father at my job, and a very proud dad. No question about it. I watched a little bit of the game. Drake did a pretty good job from what I can tell. And tell you what, it's not easy to step in as a freshman on a varsity team in any program, let alone St. Ignatius. So good luck to I don't normally praise the big parochial schools, but in this case it's warranted. So we'll see what Ignatius can do going forward. And again, a great season by Mentor. Let's shift over to the Cleveland Public School. John Marshall Lawyers traveled down to Medina to take on the battling Air Bees of Medina. And there's number 6 seed there. So Noah, take this one away.
Yeah, the Medina Bees, they were able to win this game 70-40 over John Marshall. Medina quarterback Danny Stoddard, he was 18-25 for 306 yards and 6 touchdowns. Their backup quarterbacks in this game, Christy DePasquale, again, if I say it wrong, I apologize. He was 8-14 for he was 8-14 for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns. Beckett Vogren was 7-12 for 106 yards and a touchdown. He also did have an interception. Wide receiver Braden Walker had 5 catches for 116 yards. Wide receiver Sidney Lloyd had 7 catches for 94 yards and a touchdown. Give Medina's defense a lot of credit. They have 6 interceptions in this game, and one of those was a touchdown returned by Talon Hovey from 60 yards. Wide receiver Jack Wiljack had 2 catches for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Dylan Whitehill had 5 catches for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns. Medina was able to win this game 70-40 over John Marshall, and that sets up possibly a big matchup in Division I, Region 1 against Wadsworth. Again, we will be talking about that later on into the show.
Nice.
Great work there, Noah. Had a lot going on there in this region. So let's give you a little bit of a break. Let's shift over to the number 10 seed, the Massillon.
But before we move on, I want the record to show that I think Noah kind of underscored, like, I think we're so used to Medina putting up those numbers. He just said it so nonchalantly. Oh, Medina won 70-40. They put up 70 points in a playoff game.
Well, do you know what? Sure. Do you know what's crazy though? That Medina had 6 interceptions and gave up 40 points. That's what I'm trying to figure that one out too. What a game.
I think it's just unreal how we, over the past, not just this year, but over the past couple of years, we're so used to Medina putting up these numbers. It just rolls off the tongue like they're supposed to. So carry on. My bad.
That is an astute observation by our EVP of social media content right there.
Nice.
So back to the number 10 seed Massillon Jackson Polar Bears traveled to Finney Stadium to take on the Berea Mid-Park Titans. And Rob's got this one.
Yeah, and the Polar Bears, they open up the scoring early on with Nathan Kuntz found Kyle Andrews on a 10-yard scoring toss. This fouled a muff pump by the Titans, but the Titans, they came through in this one. Danny Bowser, the quarterback, he faked a handoff, went 40 yards for a touchdown on the ensuing possession, tying the game at 7 in the first quarter. Then Adriel Mendez followed with a 12-yard touchdown run, and all of a sudden it was 14-7 Titans with 4:18 in the first half. The Polar Bears, they did add a field goal, so at half it was 14-10. And, it's crazy that these teams continued the scoring in the second half. And the Titans, they really started to get into a groove on offense. Running back Noah Silva, he's been their go-to guy. He had a 32-yard touchdown run on a 10-yard pass. All of a sudden, or actually had a 32-yard touchdown run and a 10-yard pass for scores. And all of a sudden, it was a 27-10 lead late in the third quarter for Berea Mid-Park. They would come away with a huge win in this 41 to 26. For the Titans, they were led by Danny Bowser. He scored 3 times and added 1 touchdown pass, while Noah Silva, he scored 2 third-quarter touchdowns and did add an interception into this game. But again, 41-26, your final is Berea Mid-Park advances, and they get that huge playoff win. And great job by John Hunick and company, because Massillon Jackson's a tough team. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Great home win for Coach Hunick. I'll also throw a little shout out to former Westlake head coach Dan LaRocca, who's also at Berea Mid-Park. He was a Mid-Park grad, so he's quite pleased to be back at the alma mater and also contributing to their success. All right, the last game did not contain anybody that we cover. It was the number 9 seed Lorraine Titans took on the Golden Eagles of Kenton at Glen Oak. Glen Oak gets a 16-7 victory over Lorraine. All right, that's all we got for Division I, Region 1. Let's shift over to Division 2, Region 5. And as we probably could assume, a game was played between Hoban and Ellett. Ellett upset Akron East in the final week of the season to get themselves into this position to get a playoff game against Hoban. I think Hoban may have taken things a little bit easier here, but nonetheless, they come away with a 39-7 victory over Ellett. Wash Jesuit, the number 2 seed, hosted Akron Firestone, and this was a surprise, very surprising, given what we've seen from Wash Jesuit. They barely get by Akron Firestone, 17-14 in Division 2, Region 5. So a little bit of a close call there for Wash Jesuit, but they advance and move on. Let's shift over to the number 13 seed, the Benedict Bengals went into Hudson. And Josh, this was probably a little bit closer than I think anyone else thought that was going to happen here. So talk about this game for us.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And in this game, Hudson was actually down 13-0 going into the fourth quarter. When they finally were able to get on the board, Peyton Nair had a 2-yard touchdown run. They did add another touchdown late in the fourth. Tegan O'Quinn, he had the touchdown. However, the game-winning attempt, the extra point, was blocked, and there was a minute 54 left in regulation. We move on to overtime. Benedictine had the first possession. They went on to score. They tried a 2-point conversion but failed. And then on Hudson's possession in overtime, They went right down the field from the 25-yard line. Peyton Ayers scored on another 2-yard run, and Brad Maisiela made the extra point. A little redemption for him there. And that was the game winner. Hudson went on to the 2019 overtime victory. Tegan O'Gwyn, he did have that one touchdown run in the fourth quarter. He finished the night with that touchdown and 133 yards rushing. No Ian Ludwig again in this game, suffering. He's been out almost half the year with injury, and you could tell that they really miss him. But they're battling. They did not play last week as well. They did not have a Week 10 opponent, so they are actually coming off a bye. And for high school kids, that's kind of a unique experience to not play, be off a week, and then come back and not only play a game, but play a playoff game. So did that have something to do with it? I'm not quite sure. Or just give Benedicting, a lot of credit. They came out and they played hard, and Hudson came away with a hard-fought victory.
No doubt. This was certainly a game that that saw a lot of twists and turns. So credit to Hudson and Coach Goff for really for getting his team back in it. I mean, that they could have easily laid down, but they fought and they were able to get the overtime and get the win. There's nothing more you can ask for. We're in surviving advance mode at this time. So as long as you get to move on to the next week, really what happens the prior week doesn't matter at that point. I want to do a quick scoring adjustment here. Walsh Jesuit was a 37-14 victor over Akron Firestone. I apologize for that as we move forward. So I'm going to go through the other three scores that don't involve us, just so we can get to two of our games of the week. We're actually in this region here. Number 13, Maple Heights traveled to Painesville Riverside. The Beavers continue their winning ways, a 36-14 winner over the Mustangs. Warren Harding traveled to Akron to take on the St. Vincent St. Mary Fighting Irish, and Warren Harding comes away with a victory. The Raiders 35, the Fighting Irish 0. Austintown Fitch took on the number 17 Cleveland John Hayes. So Austintown had to come up to Cleveland for that game, and Austintown definitely took care of business. They get a 42-0 victory over Cleveland John Hay. They advance to the next round. All right, let's start with the top game. This game was Josh Jeffy took care of this game. This was a rematch in the Natty between Twinsburg and Nordonia. This was another game that we were looking real forward to. We were all talking about it both off the air and on the air last week. So Josh, take this game away.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. I was really looking forward to this when I saw the brackets come out. This one I circled. It had a lot of juice to it. Conference rivals. Twinsburg hasn't been to the playoffs since 2010. Nordonia trying to defend home turf with that solid season they had and that number 5 seed. And in this game, it started off, I don't know if it was playoff nerves or was the fact that these teams really know each other, but the defense ruled pretty much most of the first half. No score up until 13 seconds left in that first half when Nordonia's Connell Rafferty hit a 39-yard field goal. The wind was a little tricky coming out of the, I believe, the south. So the kickers did a good job actually trying to fight that. But we go into halftime 3-0. Nordonia with the lead. Both teams traded turnovers to start the second half. Finally, with 2 minutes and 12 seconds left in the third quarter, Twinsburg Jolie Pollock found Jaden Dye for a 15-yard touchdown. Nordonia would then respond with a 34-yard touchdown pass from Ben Chesser to Mike Ebert to reclaim the lead 10-7. Twinsburg did a nice job in the second half with really getting some nice sustained drives in there. They did have one long drive in the third quarter that was capped by a 12-yard TD pass from Joey Pollock to Cam Wright. That made the score 14-10. And then Nordonia had a series deep in their own territory where Ben Chesser bobbled, I want to say 2 or 3 of the snaps. And then the real killer for them on this specific drive was they were lined up for the punt. The snap sailed over the punter's head, went right to the back of the end zone for a safety. So that put Twinsburg up 16-10 in the fourth quarter. And then Twinsburg just played solid defense, got the ball back, drove down, and it was they pretty much sealed the deal on the offensive end with the Aiden Szynski 29-yard touchdown run. He finished the game with 81 yards rushing, and that put the Twinsburg Tigers up 22-10. Nordonia, maybe some questionable use of their timeouts. I'll just say at the end of the game, they still had 2 timeouts left. In a game like that, when time is of everything, you wanted to get the ball back. They didn't use their timeout. So I'm sure there's a good reason for that. I was questioning it myself, but needless to say, they did drive down. The Knights did, but Jaden got picked off Ben Chesser close to the end zone, if not in the end zone, and that sealed the win for the Tigers. Very emotional win for Coach Salter. I was happy for them. And it was just a tough all-around good game. Some stats from the game. Joey Pollock had 93 rushing yards to go along with his 195 passing yards. He did have those 2 touchdowns. On the Nordonia side, Mike Ebert had 5 receptions for 43 yards and their 1 touchdown. And on the defensive end, another solid effort from Brendan Hermansky at 13 tackles in this one and 1 sack. But Nordonia gets a huge victory. On our Twitter page, we had a little post-game interview with Coach Salter. You could just tell the emotions he was feeling, the happiness he was feeling, not only for himself, for his staff, but his team and the community itself. Really fun and a solid victory for them as they move on to Week 12.
Well done.
Such a great game. Josh, great job on the coverage there. We've been talking about Twinsburg a lot this year, and deservedly so. And they certainly proved that out as the season has gone on. And they gave Nordonia a really good game earlier in the season, and they're on quite the winning streak right now. And you can tell behind Coach Salter and their coaching staff, they believe. And that's now the proof's in the pudding. They get the first victory in the playoff game since 2010. So lots to be excited about for Twinsburg. Let's go over to the other side of the, I think it's the same side of the bracket technically, but Barberton hosted Shaker Heights, battle between the Greater Cleveland Conference and the Suburban League American Conference. Our own Noah Jacobson was at this game, and he was quite busy at this one. The scoreboard in Rudy Sharkey Stadium, also very busy. So Noah, why don't you take this one away?
All right, well, thanks, Ed. Yeah, and it was a pretty cool trip to go to Barberton for the first time, Rudy Sharkey Stadium. A great venue for a great high school game. And guys, this game did not disappoint in this one, as both of these teams combined for 1,054 yards, 89 points.
That's a lot.
Barberton started the drive out with Xavier Macon at an opening touchdown. That made the score 6-0. But Shaker Heights will respond as Abdul Ahmad to Trey McNutt III for a touchdown. And then Xavier Macon would do it again as he has his second rushing touchdown of the game. And then Barberton would do it again as Dominic Wilson found Kenneth Larry for a touchdown. That made the score 20-7. Running back Cornell Beard had a touchdown that made it 20-14. Dominic Wilson had a rushing touchdown in this game. That made it 27-14. But Shaker Heights would strike back as quarterback Abdullah Ahmad found Trey McNutt for the second time in this game. That made it 27-21. Barberton's backup quarterback Noah DeHart had a rushing touchdown. That made it 34-21. Shaker Heights' running back Cornell Beard had his second touchdown. That made it 34-27. And then Xavier Macon had his third rushing touchdown in the game. That made it 41-27. And then Shaker Heights' backup running back Caden King had a touchdown in this game. That made the score 41-34. But with 4:38 left to go, Barberton, it was 4th down and 5. And Barberton's quarterback, Dominic Wilson, pitched it to Robert Davis for a touchdown. That made it 48-34. Barberton thought they had the game in hand, but Shaker Heights said, "We're not done yet, folks." Abdullah Ahmad fouled Trey McNutt for the third time in this game, and that made it 48-41. And then Barberton Xavier Macon was able to get the first down and was able to win it 48-41 over the Shaker Heights Red Raiders. In this game, Shaker Heights' quarterback Abdullah Ahmad was 19-28 for 303 yards and 3 touchdowns. Running back Cornell Beard had 19 carries for 168 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Trey McNutt had 6 catches for 142 yards and 3 touchdowns. For Shigarrites, the future is bright for them. Coach Nicholson has got his group believing again from 3-7 to 7-4, even though they lost that playoff game. They got Trey McNutt, Cornell Beer, all those guys coming back next year, and it feels like they're right where they want to be in the Greater Cleveland Conference in their first year joining. And then, Sean, do you want to talk about a little bit about Barberton and the Suburban American Conference on this side?
Well, yeah, you hit it on the head there, Noah. I mean, great job covering the game as always. Xavier Macon finished the game with 26 carries, 265 yards, 3 touchdowns on the night. You mentioned Robert Davis. Robert Davis had 4 receptions for 88 yards. Also, he blocked a field goal in this game, which led to Barberton getting a big 48-41 victory. They move on to the second round. Was it the quarterfinals in the region, however you want to call it? They move on to live another day for the Division II Region 5.
Noah, great job on that on the coverage there. Lots of action in Division II Region 5 involving our teams here as well. So two feature games of the week, and looking forward to seeing what happens in week 2 of the playoffs. Let's shift over to Division II Region 6. This is going to have a decided Southwestern Conference flavor to it. No questions asked there. Again, Jaden Dye will be joining us today at 8:20. We'll be going over we'll be talking to him about we'll be talking to him as well. All right, Division II Region 6. I'll start with the games that don't have anything that were not covered by us. The number 2 seed, Anthony Wayne, Anthony Wayne, 41-6 over Toledo Start. Rhodes went to Sylvania Southview. A game was played. Southview gets a 49-0 victory over Rhodes. And that is it. Lots of coverage here as well. Let's start with number 1, Avon hosting Toledo St. John Jesuit. Rob?
Yeah, and in this one, Ed, the Eagles, they were without quarterback Nolan Good, and they did have limited carries for running back Jacorian Caffey in this game. But Avon, they would score on quarterback Blake Elder's pass to wide receiver Matt Maxey from 37 yards out. Avon led 7-0 at halftime, and after half, running back Jacorian Caffey, he would score from 7 yards out, and all of a sudden, the Eagles were up 14-0 in this game. And in the fourth quarter, it was Matt Maxey scoring again from 13 yards out, and running back Grant Barr from 31 yards out. Avon, without one of their some offensive firepower in this game, still rolled to a 28-0 win in this one. The Eagles defense, they did hold Toledo St. John's Jesuit to 207 yards of total offense in this one. Blake Elder threw for 79 yards and a touchdown. The Eagles, they had 7 different runners on this night, and were led by Tyler Kaufman, who had 66 yards rushing, and wide receiver Matt Maxey, he even ran 7 times for 49 yards, had 2 touchdowns on the night. Avon 11-0, and Toledo St. John's Jesuit falls to 4-7 on the year as Avon advances with that 28-0 win.
Avon certainly playing up to the billing as the number 1 seed. Let's shift over. Midview, the number 14 seed, took on Highland. As you can tell by the score, the game was played. Let's start with Rob from the Midview side, and then we'll shift over to Sean from the Highland side.
Yeah, there's not a ton from Midview, but they fell behind early and struggled to really get back in this game. At half, they were trailing 28-0 before quarterback Ethan Albert would get the Middies on the board with a 13-yard run. Unfortunately, that was all the scoring for the Middies in this one. As you said, they lose 49-7. But for Midview running back Hunter Anderson, he did run for 44 yards, and Ethan Albert, he threw for 89 yards and ran for a touchdown on the night. So Midview, they had a better season this year. They end at 4-7, and just a tough way to end the season. But Highland's very impressive, and I'm sure we have some information on Highland because they really played well in this game.
It sure did, Rob. And as you could say, Highland rolls to a 49-7 victory over Midview. The big story in this game was Highland dominating every every feasible section of the game. Offense, defense, and special teams. Start off with running back Casey Miser, 17 carries, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns on the night. Quarterback Peyton Janikis also contributed 14 carries of his own for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also had a passing touchdown to Matt Syriac. There was also an interception return for a touchdown and a punt return for a touchdown in this game. So as you can see in every facet of the game, Highland dominated this. As we see, they get a 49-7 victory. They move on to the next round of the playoffs.
Yeah, Highland does what Highland does, as you mentioned, Sean. So Midview had a good win. I think their best win was over. I think they got North Ridgeville this year, if I'm not mistaken, Rob. So they certainly have. They certainly have some, 4-7 season under Coach Armstrong. Big win over North Ridgeville, and they were competitive over the course of the year. And we'll see what they can do next year. And Highland again, under Coach Givens, will move on to the next round. Rob, let's shift over to Olmsted Falls hosted Oregon Clay.
Yeah, and in this one, the Bulldogs, they were slow to get started. They actually trailed Oregon Clay at half 12-10 in this game. But in the second half, the Bulldogs, they really figured out what they needed to do. Rushing as a team for 382 yards in this one. It was running back Logan Connolly. He had 9 carries for 126 yards and a touchdown. And I feel like every time there's a different running back putting up big numbers in this offense. Owen Singleton, he also had 89 yards. Derek Neckar, 48 yards and 2 touchdowns. Quarterback Jimmy Rossell, he had 70 yards and a touchdown. And Trent Rabernicki, he had a touchdown on the night. Olmsted Falls, they ran away with this one, mostly in the second half as they win 40-12 in this one. They improved to 8-3 as Oregon Clay, the number 12 seed, falls to 4-7. So Olmsted Falls advances here.
Yeah, great work by Olmsted Falls. They're no strangers to the playoffs, especially in the upper echelon of the playoffs, and they proved that out with a big win over Oregon Clay. All right, let's shift over. Fremont Ross traveled to Avon Lake to take them on. Rob, what do you got for this game?
Yeah, in this game, it was the Shoremen. They started the scoring early with running back Anthony Benedict on a 13-yard run. Fremont Ross, though, they would answer with a touchdown of their own as J.D. Moncrief would score from 3 yards out. Avon Lake, they would get a field goal and a score before half as running back Jake Bova had a score and Palomoski with a field goal for Avon Lake. It was 16-7 at half. Avon Lake led. Then in the second half, the Shoremen would outscore Fremont Ross in this game 24-7 as Avon Lake, they advance with a big 40-14 win. Avon Lake, they were led by running back Anthony Benedict. 34 carries, 197 yards, and 3 touchdowns in this game. Wide receiver Derek McCrum, he had 5 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown. And quarterback Alex A. Falter threw for 129 yards and a touchdown. Again, Avon Lake improving to 7-4 as Fremont Ross, the number 10 seed, falls to 4-7. Again, Avon Lake with a big 40-14 win in this one. Nice win there by Avon Lake.
Yeah, of course, great win by Avon Lake, and we're going to be joined by Avon Lake running back Anthony Benedict at 8:30 tonight to talk about the victory over Fremont Ross and the Avon Lake season up to this point. All right, we have 2 feature games of the week in this region. Let's start with Rob. He was at Valley Forge and North Ridgeville. This was a rematch, I believe, a week 2 battle between the two. A very lopsided affair in the favor of North Ridgeville. So we're looking forward to seeing how Valley Forge would handle them in the second game of this of the rematch here, with Valley Forge having gained some momentum over the course of the season. So Rob, take it away between North Ridgeville and Valley Forge.
All right, thanks, Ed. Well, both teams in this game, they moved the ball, but they couldn't get any points on the board in the first quarter. It was 0-0, and then finally in the second quarter, North Ridgeville would break through, and it was wide receiver and tight end Charlie Steinmetz. He would catch a pass from quarterback Brennan Watchhorn from 12 yards out. Then the North Ridgeville defense, they would step up as it was Brett Leinerth with a fumble recovery as he went 48 yards to the house. At half, the Rangers led 14-0, and it was impressive to watch quarterback Brennan Watchhorn. He threw a really nice ball and commanded the offense in this game. In the second half, North Ridgeville, they would continue their scoring. They actually led 28-0 in the second half here, thanks to scores from Steinmetz again and running back Tavion Swain. Finally, though, the Patriots, they would get on the board with a really nice pass and catch of 52 yards. It was Dan Kuhl connecting with wide receiver Sincere Duncan, and they really had a nice connection there. Kuhl, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that, he wasn't done, though. He would connect with Ben Farson, the running back, on a great diving catch, this from 22 yards out. And all of a sudden, it was a 28-14 game in the fourth quarter. And you got to give credit to the Patriots. They didn't give up in this game and really fought through some difficult times. As the Rangers, they answer one more time with Charlie Steinmetz touchdown. The Rangers finished with 350 yards of total offense as they hold on in this one, 35-14. And Charlie Steinmetz for North Ridgeville, he did it all in this one. Carried the ball 8 times for 91 yards and then catching 8 passes for 100 yards. He had 3 touchdowns in the game. And it was Rangers quarterback Brennan Watchhorn as he impressed as well, throwing for 136 yards and a touchdown. Now, I know Ed's going to touch a little bit on Valley Forge, but Nick Mankins in this game, he had 63 yards. And Dan Kuhl, the quarterback, Ed, I know you've seen some Valley Forge this year. He really threw a good ball. He had 148 yards and 2 touchdowns on the night. And Valley Forge, though, I was impressed with the way they ran the ball. And they got down 28-0, but you didn't really see them just walk off the field. They were playing hard, and they got right back in the thick of it.
Yeah, Valley Forge is they're a tough squad. They obviously got probably a little shell shot by Ridgeville, but as we've talked with Mankins and Farson earlier in the season, Danny Kewell is pretty cool handed. When you get a team like Valley Forge to pass, you're usually in a good situation. Kewell was up to the task in this matchup, though, being able to complete a couple touchdown passes. It's tough to continually run the ball when you're down by 28, but
Yeah.
you can use that to set up some of your passes, and Valley Forge certainly did that to the best of their ability against a very good North Ridgeville team. So credit to North Ridgeville. They took They again is kind of similar to a rematch between Cleveland Heights and Euclid. They took no chances. They took a big lead early, kind of tried to run and hide before Valley Forge made a run, and they were able to finish it. So a great season by the Great Lakes East co-champion Valley Forge Patriots. Looking at their schedule, they played a really tough schedule. The 2 teams they played in the GLC West were Bay and Rocky River. On top of that, they played Gilmore Academy and then obviously North Ridgeville. So their non-conference slate was very, very tough. And they acquitted themselves pretty well, especially when they got the conference play. Great job on the coverage there, Rob. Right in your backyard. So that would have been nice to stay very local for that game. And North Ridgeville moves on to the next round. All right, let's go to Sean Duffy. He had Brecksville Broadview Heights. The Brecksville Broadview Heights
Bees. That's right, Ed. They were traveling to take on the Westlake Demons, and Westlake got off to a pretty hot start, intercepting Colin Siebert's first pass from scrimmage, which led to 3 points thanks to a Sean Evilsizer field goal from about 23, 24 yards. It was hard to see from the angle. There was a bit of an issue with the ball rolling because it was so windy, so I'm not taking any of the stats as far as where the ball was placed because the damn thing moved more times than I think the refs care to acknowledge. But the big story for this was the Bees running back, and that's Eli Beach, and the guy had 3 touchdowns on the night. He toted the rock 32 times. He had 152 yards, I mentioned, and he had 3 touchdowns on the night. As he went, the Bees went. On the flip side of things, defense for the Bees was outstanding. They did not allow Westlake to get any sort of momentum. Sam Brucheri was constantly under attack by the Bees defensive line. The Bees defensive line did not allow Matthew Porcelli any room to get yards after the catch. They were very, very stingy with the defense. That's not to say Westlake's defense wasn't as stingy, picking off Colin Siebert twice and recovering a fumble in this game, but they couldn't get anything to go offensively. They would kind of snake bite themselves as they got into the scoring zone. creating no opportunities for scoring. And at this point, Brecksville runs away with this game 30-3. They were pretty much in charge from the get-go, save for that opening pass interception by the Demons of Colin Siebert. But in this one, Brecksville rolls 30-3. Westlake finishes the season, I believe, 7-5, 7-4 overall. They will obviously look to rebound next year. They got some young kids coming back. They did get some young kids out there playing towards the end of the half to get end of the game to get some of their get some of them kids some experience. But Brecksville moves on and they get a gift, I guess. No good deed goes unpunished here as they move on to the next round. We'll talk about who they play later on.
Sean, great job on the coverage there. Just a note about Westlake. They had a very tough schedule as well. Very tough. Their losses were to Buckeye, Bay, and Rocky River. Just some very good GLC schools. I think Sean Evilsizer might have the best name I've ever heard. Besides Brent Austin being like the most hockey name ever. Sean Evilsizer is just a great name.
Yeah, I love it.
Sean, you mentioned before this, as we talked about this game last week, that we didn't know what kind of Brecksville team we were going to see. And obviously we saw the team that was going to give Westlake some problems, and they certainly did that.
Well, and to follow up on that, Ed, I think initially we saw that Jekyll and Hyde team. They had every opportunity to run the ball right down their throat. They tried to pass. I think Colin Siebert got a little bit. Again, it was windy out. There were some conditions that he had to face, but Colin Siebert probably could have been a little sharper. He was picked off twice in that game. Again, a little bit under pressure, but hats off to the defense of Brecksville. They just did not allow Westlake to get any sort of momentum going forward. So hopefully they can play that game and shore up some of those issues going into next week.
No doubt. And there's Brecksville, as you mentioned, is going to get a gift, very much like Barberton is also going to receive a gift in Division II, Region 5. So we're coming up here. Jaden Dye from Twinsburg is going to be joining us shortly. So we're going to take a short break. We're going to hear from our sponsors. When we come back, we will be talking with Twinsburg wide receiver and defensive back Jaden Dye, and then Avon League running back Anthony Benedict about their playoff victories in their seasons. When we come back from that, after that, we'll go through Division III, Region 9, Division III, Region 10, and we'll talk about next week's playoff matchups and where we will be for Week 12 of the season. So make sure you stick with us, hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Friday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
For handmade quality leather products, check out Hand and Built Leather Goods. Check out their website, www.handbuiltleather.com. GV Art and Design, original and one of a kind. Check them out on their website at www.gvartwork.com and use the code ONTAP10 to get 10% off your full order. GV Art and Design.
Welcome back to Sports on Tap. This is the Sports on Tap High School Football Show presented by Ray Felton State Farm Insurance. My name is Ed Dick. Again, Rob Troutman, Noah Jacobson, Sean Duffy, Josh Jeffy, bringing you all the coverage for the Great Lakes Conference, Greater Cleveland Conference, Suburban League, and Southwestern Conference in the playoffs. All right, we're very, very happy to be joined by Twinsburg wide receiver and defensive back Jaden Dye. Had a touchdown and an interception and a big victory over in Nordonia in week 1 of the playoffs. The 12 taking out the 5 seed. Usually happens in March Madness, and there's certainly no difference here in Ohio's version of football madness. Jaden, thank you for taking the time to join us tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
We're great. We mentioned you got a sweet poster right behind you there. That's that's a pretty cool setup you got there, Jaden. What a great victory you guys had over Nordonia. You had a great individual game. You faced Nordonia earlier in the year. In fact, they gave you your last loss, and then you had 4 weeks of wins. So I guess briefly, Josh was at the game. I'll defer to him as far as more specific questions about the game itself. My question is, being able to face the team twice in the same season doesn't happen all the time. Right. How was your preparation? How did you guys prepare for this game, knowing that you already faced them about 5 weeks ago?
So I would say going into this game, I mean, obviously they had won the last one and only by a touchdown. So the message going into this week was what Coach Salter said was they're not going to try and reinvent the wheel because obviously what they did against us last time worked. So I think going into it, we really just the tape from the last time that they played us just to stir up our mistake, fix what we needed to fix, and then at the end of the day, just make the adjustments. Because it's hard to beat a team twice, and I think that was our mindset going in.
Yeah, Jaden, I was curious. Congratulations on the win, by the way. I was curious because that first half of the game, it really defensive heavy. Your defensive back, your cornerback, really defense. Not a lot of offense went into that. And then the second half, you guys kind of stuck to what I'm assuming is your original game plan, just, solid offense, solid defense. But just talk about that first half and what was going on with the constant adjustments and the lack of offense.
So going in, I mean, we were kind of just getting used to the atmosphere because it has been a while since Twinsburg has been in the playoffs. So I think I wouldn't say it was a little bit of a shell shock, but, I think me and my teammates were just getting used to the environment. And I think after we started to settle in, we just started playing football like we know how to.
Well, add to that. So, as I was going through the recap, I kind of mentioned that could have been a little bit of playoff jitters or what have you. But there is, in your opinion, there is a difference because, like Ed said, you guys played them 5 weeks ago as a regular season game. Now you're playing the same team, but a different because it's playoff. Is there a different feeling going into that game?
I would definitely say so, just because the next game isn't guaranteed. You have to take it 1 week at a time, knowing that every week you go in, it's do or die. Like this could be the last high school game that I would play. So there's definitely a little bit more on the line for sure.
Jaden, thank you so much for taking the time tonight. I know it's been, crazy whirlwind. But I guess my question kind of pivots to, okay, you guys got that win. That's a huge win for you guys, the first win in a long time for Twinsburg. How quickly did your coaches and your teammates and you as a leader on the team have to say, okay, that was great. That was Friday night, maybe a little bit into Saturday when you're watching film. How quickly do you guys have to turn, knowing what you're facing now this week, coming into the second round of the playoffs, knowing you want to keep this train moving? What's been the message early on this week from Coach Salter and your coaching staff, as well as some of the other leaders on your team?
I would say the message was to just enjoy it because obviously it was a big moment, not only for the team, but for the community as a whole, being that Nordonia is only right down the street from us. And I think the focus really shifted once we came into film on Saturday, just knowing like, all right, we had a great game last night, clap it up. The community enjoyed it, but now it's time to get back on track so we can get ready for next week.
Jaden, thank you for taking the time and congrats on the win on Friday night. It feels like your guys' defense the last 2 games, you guys have only given up 20 points. Just kind of talk about how the defense is doing this season and just kind of how well they've been doing the last 2 weeks.
Sure. So the defense, I think we started playing well these past 2 weeks just by being able to be versatile and just knowing that we have athletes that can cover other teams' athletes and just knowing that we can fly around to the ball and just be dogs at the end of the day, really.
Yeah, and Jaden, you guys have had a great season so far, and I'm sure it's meant a lot to you and your teammates. Talk a little bit about this season, from start to right now. What kind of bonds have you built with some of your teammates on having this great season and what it means to really turn around the program? Because Coach Salters, obviously, he's done a great job and he believes in you guys. And you guys believe in him, and you can tell on the field, and your confidence is continue to build this season. So talk about the bond, the relationship you have with some of the players and coaches on this team this season.
Sure. So the bonds we have are strong, like just knowing I can rely and trust on any of my coaches and what they're telling me, along with the players I have next to me, trusting that they can make the right play, block for me, or I block for them, knowing that we have each other's backs. And back to what you said with Coach Salter and just turning the program around, that message has been sent over since the end of last year when we ended 3-7. Like knowing, all right, yeah, it wasn't the winning season that we were hoping for, but it was definitely a step forward from that previous season. And then even going into like the winter workouts and the two-a-days in the summer, Coach Salter constantly said like we have the ability to really flip this program around and get to where we are now. And I don't think we're done yet. I know we're not done yet.
I like it.
Talking with Twinsburg running back. I keep saying running back. Twinsburg wide receiver and defensive back, Jaden Dye. Jaden, you mentioned in the post game just really, how important it was as a Twinsburg kid growing up in the city, growing up in the community, really feeling that pride. How important how important is it for you and your teammates to how important is it for you guys in addition to keeping things on the field, obviously, but setting an example for the youth programs and the middle school programs?
I would say it's definitely important. I mean, just having that relationship with them kind of inspires them like, all right, this is somebody that I want to model myself after, not only on the field, but, just in life too. I mean, I kind of have this celebration with the ball boys. Like every time after I score, we'll play rock, paper, scissors. And unfortunately on Friday, I lost that round, but it's all good. But I think it's just having the relationship with the middle schoolers and the younger kids just gives them somebody to look up to and inspires them.
All right, Jaden, you did both this past Friday. You had a receiving touchdown and you had a interception that essentially sealed the game for you guys. What, in your opinion, do you prefer to do more? Would you rather catch touchdowns all day or pick off the opposing team end zone or anywhere on the field? What do you enjoy doing more?
That's a hard question. I mean, obviously defense is going to win championships at the end of the game, at the end of the day, and I'm biased, but I'm going to say just scoring touchdowns just because it's an electric feeling. I mean, kids everywhere are going to say like, "Oh, I want to score a touchdown." It's just the feeling of, getting hugged by your teammates and coaches on the sideline. I mean, that interception at the end of the game, like nothing's ever going to beat that feeling, but I'm going to lean more towards scoring touchdowns.
Well, going back to the game, you did score the first touchdown for the Tigers in that
Right.
game. A nice, I think it was a slant right into the end zone. And it was a great route, great catch. What was your feeling? You guys finally got off the schneid. You got some points on the board. Did that help kind of get the momentum going there in the second half to get you guys rolling? And then you had a couple long, sustained drives, solid running, just a great overall organization on your offense there in the second half.
I would say that touchdown definitely opened up the floodgates for our offense. Going into halftime, the message was really to the offensive line just to kind of be more physical up front so we could give Joey more time and Aiden more lanes to run through. And I think coming out of halftime, just relying on those adjustments really kind of opened up everything. I mean, like you said, I scored the first touchdown, and then after that, Cam scored after me, and then Aiden followed with that 29-yard touchdown. So I think it really just opened up everything after that.
One thing I wanted to ask you and Jaden, and we probably don't talk about this as much as football players, but we know Halloween's coming up tomorrow, and one question I wanted to ask you: what is your favorite candy? If you had to pick one, what would it be?
Nice.
Ooh,
I
I'm
didn't know
gonna
we were
lean
doing
towards
hard-hitting
Skittles.
questions tonight.
I'm gonna lean towards Skittles on that one. It's either that or Airheads, but I'm feeling more Skittles right
Oh,
now.
there you go.
I'm a fan.
Oh, yeah.
How?
Right now there's subsections of Skittles. There's the red bag, the purple bag, the light blue bag, the dark blue bag.
And then there's the sour ones too.
The sour one, yes, of course,
Yeah.
the green ones, the green bag, the sour ones. Are those you mentioned the sour ones by name? Are those your favorite?
I'm actually I don't like those at all. I'm more of like the red, maybe purple, on occasion.
He's a
maybe.
traditionalist. He's a
Yeah.
traditionalist. He likes the old school flavors. Wow, look at Noah with the hard-hitting candy question. Now I gotta
I
go
love
with
it.
candy.
That was solid there. I'll tell you what, the sour ones, I like them only in moderation. Like if I want
Right.
to destroy my mouth, I will definitely have sour ones, but I prefer the purple.
And you're
myself.
only going to get this kind of analysis on Skittles here on Sports on Tap. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube.
Hard-hitting
I dig it.
analysis.
That's right now. One more question before we let you go here. Without giving away too much, we know you guys are taking on a very, very good Painesville Riverside team. Without giving away too much, what have you seen on film, and how are you guys looking? What do you guys think? What do you think you guys need to do to succeed against Riverside?
So looking on film, obviously their record shows that they're a good team, but as we know in playoffs, anything can happen. I mean, the records and stuff kind of goes out the window whether you're 7-4 or 9-2. So yeah, they're big up front, but I think we're just gonna rely on our athletes and our skill players and just stick to what we know. I mean, we're not gonna try and do anything outside of ourselves because what we've been doing has been working. I mean, we've won the last 5 games straight doing what we've been doing. So I don't think we're gonna try and I'm gonna steal Coach Salter's words here. We're not gonna try and reinvent the wheel. We're just gonna be the Twinsburg Tigers at the end of the day.
The Twinsburg Tigers have certainly made some noise here. As you mentioned, 5 straight wins. A lot of confidence brewing in Twinsburg. We wish you the best of luck this week against Riverside, and hopefully we'll be talking. I'll be biased. Hopefully we're talking about a Twinsburg victory next week, mostly because we cover you guys and we want our teams to do well. So best of luck to you and the rest of the Tigers and coaches, and and hopefully we'll talk about a win next week.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming
Thank
on.
you,
We
Jaden.
appreciate it.
That is Jaden Dye, wide receiver, defensive back, avid Skittles eater from Twinsburg. Just taking some time out of his schedule to join us here. The Twinsburg Tigers will be taking on Painesville Riverside in week 2 of the playoffs. That game will be played at Riverside. So Twinsburg are going to have to be Road Warriors here for the rest of the year, but their season has been fantastic. They had a really tough stretch of games with Wadsworth, Hudson, and Nordonia, and they had a tough one against Aurora to start the year. But once they found their stride, they've just carried that momentum over. They essentially ran over Nordonia, and doesn't seem like anyone's getting in their way. So it's going to be a great game in Riverside between the Tigers and the Beavers. All right, let's shift over. We're going to shift over to running back from Avon Lake, Anthony Benedict. We'll see he's connecting right now. He had a tremendous game, 197 yards on the ground and a victory over Fremont Ross. Coach Kostelnik, couldn't be any happier with the effort from the Shoremen against a very good Fremont Ross team. Fremont Ross has traditionally been pretty solid, so but Avon Lake was able to host that game. So we'll see if Anthony can pop on here. We see him on the Zoom screen there. Again, Avon Lake was. See if he's there. We got a screen. Avon Lake.
Yeah, I'm here. I don't really know if my camera's open.
No worries, man. No worries. Thanks for taking the time to join us here. I don't know if we could. I think we can conduct this as long as we can hear you. That'll work. Do we got you for audio at least?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, excellent. Anthony, thanks for taking the time to join us here. What a great victory you guys had over Fremont Ross, 40-14, almost 200 yards on the ground. I think 3 touchdowns, just a tremendous effort. Talk about the game. Talk about the game against Fremont Ross, the playoff atmosphere. Tell us about the experience.
Well, going into the game, we knew we had something to prove after losing our last 3 games of the season. And we knew we were a better team than that. And our mindset was just we have to win big in this game and build our confidence for the playoffs because we want to make a run. So our game plan of the game was just run the ball and see if they can stop us. We have an amazing O-line, and me and Bova for the backs, we've been doing great this year, and just use that together to have a great game.
Yeah, Anthony, I listened to Coach Kostelnik. He was on WOBL, their post-game show, and he said going into this game, you just kind of all went back to basics, and it's just pound the rock, pound the rock. When the coach tells you that's what it's going to be like, how does that make you feel as a running back, knowing you are going to be a huge, huge part of this playoff game?
It's great for me to hear because I know what I want to do and what I can do with the team that we got. So being able to make an impact like that was amazing, and just to come out with a great win. And our team played amazing. There's nothing more we could ask from that.
Anthony, you kind of you touched on it a bit in your first answer to the question, but I'd like to dig a little deeper into your offensive line. Obviously, a performance like yours is nothing without the big hog mollies up front. Or has that been something you guys have been working on all year, getting that cohesion with the offensive line? You specifically with the running back in the running backs room, working with those guys, seeing what works, what doesn't.
Even leading up to the season, we knew we had a great line up front, and we wanted to rally around them, be able to run the ball behind them, pass behind them, really revolve our whole offense around them because they're amazing. And that was basically our game plan going every game, just make sure we can use them in the best way possible to have success there.
Excellent.
Yeah, Anthony, a great season so far, and it's been kind of interesting with you guys because Wade Nelson, I know, has been a running back. You guys have really a few different running backs. You and Jake Bova and Wade Nelson, and you just have so many different weapons. Then in receiver you have Derek McCrum who can spread the ball or spread the field out rather, and a plenty of other weapons. Alex Afalter's doing a great job for you guys. Offensively, how nice is that? Does that take a little bit of pressure off of you so you don't have so much weight on your shoulders? I know this last game, 34 carries for 197 yards. You really took the load in this game and ran the ball all over the place. But usually when you have more than one running back and you have, that passing game, does that take some pressure off of you?
Yeah, it does because, I can just rely on Derek or Carter Burke or Bova to make that big play to help our offense do something because, sometimes the run isn't always working and we can throw it out to Derek so he can make a big play and be the athlete he is. And then Wade, I wish he was here with us. He got hurt earlier in the season, but he's one of the best athletes on the team. So it was amazing to have him, me, and Bova all together, being able to combo different plays and formations with the 3 of us.
Anthony, thank you for taking the time, and congrats on Friday's win. When we talked to our last guest on the show, and we know tomorrow is Halloween and that, but if you could pick out one candy, what would it be?
I like Reese's.
Boy,
Okay.
Someone going Reese Cups. Yeah,
All right.
Nothing against Jaden dying the whole Skittles and whatever he said, but you gotta go chocolate
Skittles.
on Halloween.
I'll tell you what, my brother
I
would
like
be.
Skittles too, but
My brother would be really happy with the Skittles call, though. I know that. But yeah, you can't go wrong with Reese's.
That's why Halloween's great. You get all of them.
That's true.
Are we talking Reese like the cup or the Reese's Pieces? What's the
that's true. I didn't think that.
You know what?
Subsection
I
Reese's?
like them both, but if I was gonna pick, probably the cup.
There you go.
That's fair. I mean, Reese's Pieces. I think I used to call them Reese's Pieces, like E's, like the long E. Because I'm still 4 apparently.
All right. I'm gonna go further into this stupid little conversation here, but Anthony, with your Reese cups, do you like it room temperature or do you like it cold in the refrigerator?
Oh, I actually love that take. I like them. I like eating them cold. Sometimes I'll throw them in the freezer. And have
Me
something
too.
Like that.
Yeah.
That's
All right.
This is fascinating. Now, I was going to say you have the best of both worlds. You get the Reese cup with the Reese's Pieces inside of it, and it's chef's kiss. That's fantastic.
I've never
Throw
thought of
those in
that.
the freezer. It's game over, and you're having yourself a night. That's me. That's the guy talking right now. That's what I'm saying. But I digress.
And hey, if you want to get really crazy, have you ever had a Reese's cup on a s'more? Try that.
I have not had that, but I should probably.
It's delicious if you like that.
That's next level. I haven't thought about it. We're talking with Anthony Benedict, running back.
They did win a playoff game, so good. Congratulations.
They are still playing football, but it's
on
Halloween and we all want candy.
Avid Reese's fan, Benedict. Never mind the 200 yards he ran for last. Anthony, let's get back to brass tacks here. Next week, this coming week, you're gonna take on a very good Anthony Wayne team. I know you guys just saw the film today, maybe on Sunday, maybe watch a little bit of film. Without giving too much away, what is it about? What are you guys looking at for Anthony Wayne, and what do you guys think you guys need to do to be successful?
Well, for starters, we're confident going into the game with our skills and what we got. So we won't back down. You know, they're the 2 seed right now, but we're confident with this game, and we can. I think we can win this game. Game plan wise, we're looking to run the ball, pass it when it's open. You let our playmakers do what they can to score and be successful, and obviously rally around the line.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing too. Is you guys are a good running team, but you guys have had a lot of success passing. As soon as a team gets ready to stop that run, Derek McCrum's right there to make a big play, and that's been your bread and butter. I mean, you guys have a great offensive line, but you have a lot of talented athletes on that team, and your defense is impressive. I know Anthony Wayne, they played North Ridgeville last year, and North Ridgeville almost pulled it off. And now them being the higher seed, does that kind of take some pressure off of you guys to just go and play your game and kind of air it out a little bit and say, hey, you know what, we're not the higher seed, so let's just go out there and play our game?
Yeah, it definitely does. But like I said, we're not scared of any opponent we come across because we're going to have the mentality to go and win no matter who we're playing, when and where. I mean, we're ready. We want to make a run in this playoff.
Absolutely.
No doubt. Anthony, we want to thank you for taking the time to join us especially during the playoff run. Best of luck to you this week. It's a little bit of a drive out there, but knowing Coach Kostelnik and the squad you guys have, I have no doubts that you guys are going to go out there and put together a really good effort. And again, same thing I told we told our last guest. We are definitely biased towards the teams that we cover. So good luck. Hopefully you guys can bring home a win, and we can keep talking about Avon Lake over the course of the season. So best of luck to you, and thanks again.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on here.
Thanks, Anthony. Good luck.
Thank you.
That was Avon Lake running back Anthony Benedict. Again, 3 touchdowns, almost 200 yards rushing. Likes his Reese's cups in the freezer.
That's a good call, Josh.
It is a good call.
I mean, it's the only way to have them, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, listen, I've had them on the s'more, and I'll take your frozen, but I'll raise you, put them together with the s'more. That'll blow your bees off, if you know what I'm saying.
No, I've had that, and that's very much preferable. I'm just saying if you're going to eat them solo alone.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Cold is the way to go. But you put them on a s'more,
okay.
then obviously you're going to enjoy the chocolate.
Well, of course you're going to enjoy it. I'm not saying, listen, you can enjoy it all you want. What I'm saying is, don't sit there and compare one to the other. A cold Reese's versus a Malo with a s'more. I mean, we're talking apples and tangerines right now. Doesn't make any sense.
Besides talking about it, have you guys ever actually had a Reese's cup on a brownie before? Because I have, and it's tasting really good.
Oh man!
I'm gonna ask you to. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna ask you to mute Noah, and I'm gonna let him, and I want you to think. Take one look at me and ask me if I've ever had a Reese's cup on a brownie.
No.
This is not day one stuff, Noah. I've been around the block a time or two. I've had the Reese's cup and the brownie. I've had the brownies with the Reese's cups inside of them.
Oh man!
I've had cookies. It's a whole thing.
He's tried it all apparently.
Oh, now I so badly want a Reese's cup.
What a sweet transition we have made here. So after this point we have we've covered Division 1, Region 1, Division 2, Region 5, Division 2, Region 6. We have covered all 4 of our feature games of the week. We had Jaden Dye from Twinsburg and Anthony Benedict from Avon Lake. Again, here on the High School Sports Show, presented by Ray Felton State Farm Insurance. Let's get back to the quick recaps. We don't have too many left now. We're going to go back to Division 3, Region 9. We had one team in the coverage area here. So we'll rip through the scores here, and then Sean can wrap it up with the recap he had there. The number 1 seed, the Fighting Irish of Youngstown Ursuline, took out the 16 seed New Philly 42-7. Geneva took it to Gates Mills Hawken 56-19. Kenston, a very, very good program. They took out Dover 34-7. Villa Angeles St. Joe's takes out University School by a score of 48-13. Gilmore, we've seen Gilmore take on some of our teams in the area. 33-13 victory over Madison. Chardon, they were 2-time Division III champions. They took out CVCA 42-0, and the defending Division III state champion Canfield Cardinals, a 20-7 victor over a very good Akron East squad there as well. Alliance, they of the Oklahoma bound quarterback, taking on Aurora. Alliance had to travel to Aurora for this game. And Sean, what do you got for a recap here?
Well, the Aviators, if you'd like to call them, of Alliance, attempted to go in and beat up the Greenmen, and that did not work out well for the faux Aviators, as Aurora trounces Alliance 41-7 to move on to the next round of the playoffs. Guys, running back Enzo Cantanilla, 210 rushing yards in this game, 3 touchdowns. Brandon Lipens, the normal starting quarterback, out in this game because of a concussion he suffered last week at the hands of Highland. But don't worry about that. Drew Payne. No, that's not it. What's his name?
Nice effort,
Backup
Sean.
quarterback did. Yeah, I'm Andrew Dwyer. I'm sorry, is what it is. He stepped in admirably to fill in, throwing 2 touchdown passes of his own. The big thing here is that, Ed, you mentioned the quarterback for Alliance, the Oklahoma Sooner-bound quarterback. The Aurora defense held that offense to 240 yards total, only 158 yards on the ground, 47 yards passing, I believe was the note out of the Akron Beacon Journal. But it was not a great performance by the Alliance Aviators, as Aurora again rolls to a 41-7 victory. They move on to the next round of the Division III Region 9 playoffs.
All right, congratulations to Aurora. Moving on, and they will be hosting a playoff game in week 2 of the playoffs. All right, Division 3 Region 10. This one it has a very, very good team. Toledo Central Catholic took it to the alma mater of Noah's mom, if I'm not mistaken, by a score of 42-7. Toledo Central Catholic being the defending Division II state champions. They shipped down to Division III due to enrollment and competitive balance, and they are the team to beat by far in this region. Actually, sorry, there's one recap here that's outside of mine. I'll get to that here shortly. Tiffin Columbia, number 3 seed, they take out the number 14 seed Ashland Arrows by a score of 49-21. Rematch here between Lexington and Mansfield Senior. Mansfield Senior gets a 30-13 victory over Lexington. Ontario took on Lutheran West. Lutheran West traveling down from Rocky River And Ontario gets the win here by a score of 31-22. All right, Norton took on a surprising playoff qualifier in Revere. So congratulations to the Minutemen for getting to this spot. Their reward was a battle with a number 2 seed in Norton. So Sean, what do you got for this game?
Yeah, Revere's season comes to an abrupt end here, guys, as they run into a buzzsaw known as the Willick brothers out of Norton. Revere did have opportunities in this game, but unfortunately, turnovers, sloppy penalties, things you cannot have happen in a playoff game where you're basically having to play perfect football when you're playing a team of the caliber that Norton is, happened to Revere. They were only able to manage 7 points on a touchdown by Luke Ferris. Unfortunately, that was all she wrote for the Minutemen and their playoff hopes of 2023 as they fall to Norton 40-7. Norton moves on to the second round. Revere ends their 2023 campaign on a disappointing loss there, but no harm done. Nothing to hang your heads about, gentlemen. You made it to the playoffs. You showed out. You showed up for the Suburban League American Conference. We appreciate you.
Very good. Revere again making it to the playoffs. The playoff experience is always a good thing, especially if the playoff format allows for it and you can make it. Enjoy it. So congratulations to Revere on a season, a playoff season there. All right, Rocky River took on Clyde. Clyde is a state champion from not too long ago, and this is a tough game. Low scoring game considering what we know Rocky River's offense to be. But Rocky River comes away with a 14-7 victory over Clyde. A tough game here for Rocky River. Quarterback Julian Patty completed 14 of 25 passing for 257 yards and a touchdown. Running back Nick DeSalvo was all over the place. 16 rushes, 124 yards and a touchdown. He also caught 4 passes for 52 yards. Ryan Ricchetti, if I had enough spots to go around for Player of the Week, Ray Felton State Farm Insurance Player of the Week, I would have got to him eventually. But he had 6 catches for 136 yards and a touchdown. He also had a pick on defense to help Rocky River get the victory over Clyde. Rocky River improves to 10-1 overall. Clyde ends their season at 5-6. The number 9 seed Defiance took on the Bay Rockets. This game was in Bay, and unfortunately for Bay, there wasn't a whole lot of offense here on their side. All the scoring happened. I think in the first half, actually. I think my numbers are on there. But regardless, Defiance took a 7-0 lead before Brendan Spellman. He tied up with a 44-yard touchdown run. But Defiance answered with another score. And that was it for Bay. Unfortunately, they cannot get on track, between Spellman and Hereditario. Michael Farrell, quarterback. Jay Snap, a receiver. Just some of the guys that we've talked about over the season. And Bay falls by a score of 14-7 to number 9 seed Defiance. Bay finished their season at 9-2. Defiance improves to 8-3. All right, the game of the week here in this region was between Sandusky and Buckeye, and this game was fantastic. Buckeye played from ahead for most of this game until the second to last drive of the game. Buckeye took a 13-0 lead with a 10-yard touchdown pass from Casey Murray to Trey Weidenmeyer, and a 4-yard touchdown run by Troy McCann. Sandusky scored the next 14 points, and then they had a chance to extend the lead at least for the half. But Weidenmeyer intercepted a Sandusky pass, and then Murray followed up with a 7-yard touchdown run to give the Bucks a 21-14 lead. Sandusky fought back for a 29-28 lead with just over a minute left. But Buckeye was able to drive the field, and the backup kicker, Carter Landis, connects on a 20-yard field goal with 3 seconds left in the game, and helps Buckeye get to a 31-29 victory over the Blue Streaks. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Braden Bonnet is the Buckeye normal kicker, and he is very, very good. Unfortunately, had a little bit of an incident at the end of during a JV game and was not able to play in this game. But for Buckeye, Casey Murray was 9 of 20 passing for 111 yards and a touchdown. He also had 10 rushes for 30 yards and a touchdown. Troy McCann rushed 28 times for 168 yards and a touchdown. He also had a 2-point conversion. Gage Nagy had 10 rushes for 68 yards and a touchdown. And Trey Weidenmeyer had 5 catches 73 yards and a touchdown, and of course the interception on defense. For Sandusky, tremendous game. Jason Henlin was 21 of 29 passing for 246 yards, 2 touchdowns, but also 2 costly picks. Jamarian Alexander had 2 touchdowns on the ground. And Amir Aaron, a very, very good receiver, was shut down the entire game except for the last drive. It was the Amir Aaron show. He had 5 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown, all on the last drive. Great work by the Medina County Gazette on this game. Most of this material is coming from that. So great job by the Gazette. Buckeye improves to 9-2. Sandusky ends their season at 6-5. All right, let's talk about where we're going. What looks like next week. Week 2 of the playoffs in Division I, Region 1. Canton Glen Oak is going to travel to Lakewood to take on the defending, 2-time defending state champion St. Edward Eagles. St. Ignatius, the 12th seed, is going to travel to Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium to take on Canton McKinley. And then we have 2 games involving all of our teams here. It'll be from the Southwestern Conference, the number 7 seed Berea Mid-Park Titans traveling to Cleveland Heights to take on the number 2 seed and the Greater Cleveland Conference champion Cleveland Heights Tigers. And then we get a rematch of multiple games now. This will be the 4th time they've played in the last 2 years. The number 6 seed, Medina Battling Bees, are going to travel to Art Wright Stadium in Wadsworth to take on the Suburban League National Conference champion, the Wadsworth Grizzlies. A quick word about let's get a quick word from our guys here about these games. Rob, let's start with you. What's Berea Mid-Park need to do to try to get one over on Cleveland Heights?
Well, they're going to have to slow. Their defense is really going to have to stop the Cleveland Heights offense, or at least contain them and keep them down in this game, because they did play earlier this year, and Berea Mid-Park hung tough in that game. So Berea Mid-Park's offense, we know they can score. They can't get out to a slow start. I know this last week they got off to a little bit of a slow start. Versus Cleveland Heights, you have to be hitting on all cylinders, because they're just a good team that fundamentally doesn't make very many mistakes. And if you make mistakes, they're going to make you pay. So hopefully Berea Mid-Park's offense can get off to a really quick start. And then defensively, if you can contain Cleveland Heights, make them earn those points. You can't stop them all, because they just have too many athletes on that team. But if you can contain them, you can give yourself a chance to win in the end.
And Noah, a quick word from the Cleveland Heights side.
Yeah, and Coach Stevens, I'm sure he's been telling his players this week. I mean, the last 2 years they've been knocked out of the second round, and they have never been past the second round. And I'm sure he's been saying, "Hey guys, the last 2 years it's done and over with. This is our time right now, where we have got to play on offense, defense, and special teams. We got to be ready to go." And it feels like Berea Mid-Park, they might have a little bit of a change coming into this game against Cleveland Heights, but Cleveland Heights has been doing what they've been doing all year with Marquise Davis, Amar Lakes, John Gordon Jr., and then their defense, Brandon Caesar. I mean, all those guys, they have been executing throughout the whole season. I feel like this is Cleveland Heights' time right now to get past Berea Mid-Park and possibly have a chance to play in the regional semifinals.
This will be a rematch. This will be a rematch, I believe, the first week of the season. So a lot of things have happened since then, and I think that'll be a great game in Cleveland Heights. All right, Noah, let's stick with you here. A quick word. Medina has had a lot of success against Wadsworth in the last few seasons. What does Medina need to do to continue their winning ways over the Grizzlies?
Yeah, and both of these teams, they actually met in week 3 in this game, as Medina would go on to beat Wadsworth. And for Medina, it feels like their starters did not play a whole lot in that second half against John Marshall. John Marshall won that second half 20-7. And I'm sure Coach Blair's been telling his guys, like, hey, we need to play better on the offensive side, because most of their starters did not play in the second half, as it was a blowout win over John Marshall 70-40. I'm sure he's been telling his guys, like, hey, they're going to come out with a different game plan, because you never know how Wadsworth is going to come on offense and defense. And for an offensive perspective from Medina, Danny Stoddard, he's got to be ready to go, because he did not play the second half in that game. And I'm sure the defensive side, I'm sure they got to play their best game of the year if they want to have a chance to get back to the regional semifinals.
And Josh, word from the Wadsworth end.
Yeah, it's going to be all about defense. Wadsworth was one of the first teams to kind of put the 8-man back, not 8 men in the box, but 8 men back to kind of defend that Medina passing offense. So let's see if they can get into that some more. But the Wadsworth defense is really playing tough right now. They're going to have to even play better against the Bees, who, like Ed and Noah both said, have lost 3 straight to Medina over the last 3 years. And one way to keep an offense off the field is to have a good running game to keep their offense off of it. You keep yours on. So I'm expecting a heavy dose of Kyle Figueroa in this one, as well as Will Stack running the ball. And I think Coach Todd's going to have this team ready to go. And I think they want to avenge the last 3 losses, one being last year in the playoffs, and then obviously the loss earlier this season. Their only loss to an Ohio team this year.
All right, let's shift over to Division II, Region 5. And we have, let's start with Austintown Fitch is going to travel to Walsh Jesuit. That's going to be a pretty good matchup there. And then we have a couple matchups involving 2 with the Natty, 1 with the American. So, Sean, let's start with you here. Barberton is going to go to Hoban. As you mentioned, their reward for beating Shaker Heights was a matchup against one of the most dominant teams in Division II, in Division III for that matter, the Hoban Knights. So what does Barberton need to do? What does Barberton need to do in this game, either to keep it close, and B, maybe spring an upset?
Yeah, first off, sorry, my camera went out on me, guys. But yeah, I would say at this point, Barberton needs to play as close to perfect to football as we've seen from them all year. They played pretty good football last week to beat Shaker Heights, but it's going to take a monumental class both offensively and defensively for Barberton. When you got guys like Dominic Wilson, Xavier Macon on the offensive side of the ball, and that defensive line that seems to be very, very good at putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks, you like the chances. They got a puncher's chance in this one, but Hoban is Hoban, and like we said on this thing constantly going into the playoffs, this is Hoban's division until someone beats them. Can Barberton be that team? Let's see. They have the opportunity. They have the tools. They have the chances. They got to take advantage of it. But I reserve judgment until we see exactly what we see from Barberton on Friday night.
All right, and then Twinsburg, again, springs the upset over number 5, Nordonia, and their reward is a game against Painesville Riverside against the Beavers. A very, very good team there. We talked to Jaden Dye about it. So, Josh, what does Twinsburg need to do in your estimation to get a victory here?
Just continue to what they're doing. Basically, they're playing really good ball right now. You want to play your best ball at the end of the season, and I believe that's what they're doing. And as we heard from Jaden, and the assumption was maybe a little right, that their first playoff game as a school in 13 years, there may have been some jitters. Well, now that's all out of the way. Now you just got to go play football, and that's what I expect them to do. It's not going to be easy. Riverside, one of the top teams in Division II, if not the area. Regardless of division, it's going to be a tough task for them. But this is what you play for. This is what Coach Salter wanted to believe in when he wanted to turn that program around. And getting that first playoff victory is just the start. Now you got to build on it.
No doubt. And that's not particularly a close drive from Twinsburg to Painesville, but nonetheless, in the playoffs, as the traveling seed, that sometimes that'll happen. They were right down the street going to Nordonia last week. They have to be on the road for a little bit here to go to Painesville. Hudson is going to host Warren Harding. Hudson, again, a very tough battle against a game Benedictine team. What are you looking at here, Josh?
Well, to be honest with you, Ed, I don't know. This is a tough one to call because Warren Harding coming in at 5-6, but I think that record is a little deceiving with the type of teams that they play. And Hudson, I have to see how they're going to come out. They got to come out much stronger than they did against the game against Benedictine. Not being able to get anything really going on the offensive end scoring wise until the fourth quarter is not going to work in this game. So they're going to have to we know what Hudson's going to do. They're going to run the ball. So they're going to have to establish that run game, establish it hard, and then play some good defense. I think this is going to be another close one for Hudson to see if they can pull it out.
Yeah, Hudson, to your point, I mean, Warren Harding, again, I mean, when you're talking about teams that have made it this far in the playoffs and they have some losses, they're losing to some really good teams, and that is no different here with Warren Harding. They go on the road and really just put it on St. Vincent St. Mary, and they're not going to have any fear going into Hudson for sure. All right, Division II, Region 6 is next. You got lots of matchups here. All these matchups involve one of our teams here. So quickly, let's talk about Avon taking on Brecksville. Josh from the Brecksville end. We, as we talked about last week, they had to. We didn't know what kind of team they were going to come out against Westlake, and they came out swinging, and they put it on the Demons. Avon is a completely different animal.
Yeah, you're right, and it's going to be hard. What Brecksville's going to have to do is they're going to have to limit the turnovers on the offensive end. They're going to have to try and play as good as defense as possible. I know these are all obvious things, but continue to feed the ball to Eli Beach. That young man is having a great end to the season, and he's just continuing and getting stronger. Just continue to feed him the ball, and just as I said about Wadsworth, keeping Medina's offense off the field, you have to do the same with Avon. Even if they don't have Nolan Good back for this game or Jacorian Caffey is on a limited basis, they've proven that they have players that can just fill in right behind them and score some points and win a ball game.
And Rob, from the Avon side, I mean, we know what they're capable of.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm going to guess Nolan Good is going to be back for this game because they gave him a little breather. I know he was a little banged up in the Avon Lake game, but he was walking off on his own there and fine. But Jacorian Caffey too, I think they're just trying to get these guys to be full strength, so giving him a light workload. We'll see how much they get in this game. Defensively, though, Avon's defense, they have really stepped it up, and teams that can run the football, they have contained. But I agree with Josh. I mean, it's not bad. If you can run successfully against Avon and keep their offense off the field, I mean, they have weapons everywhere. They had, they were missing two of their main weapons, obviously in limited. Jacorian did play, but they found other weapons, and Blake Elder came in and threw a touchdown pass. Matt Maxey stepped up his game. Tyler Kaufman can play offensively. So they have some depth there in Avon, and you want to keep that offense off the field. You got to keep getting first downs, and you just got to have great drives that take some time off the clock, but then you have to score some points there. So if you can do that, you might have a shot to beat Avon. But let's see. I'm going to guess Nolan Good's going to be back for this one, but we'll have to wait and see on that one.
All right, and then on the other side of the bracket, Olmsted Falls is going to make almost about an hour and 40-minute drive out to Sylvania to take on Southview. Rob, real quick, Olmsted Falls, no stranger to the playoffs, even before the expansion. Just a really good playoff team. What are you looking for there?
Well, Southview's a tough team. They're very physical, and they're kind of, I think they're a little bit similar. They can pass the ball, but they do like to run just like Olmsted Falls. Olmsted Falls, you want to stop the run and force them to pass. Jimmy Russell can pass the ball, but, Olmsted Falls sticks to what they do best, and that's run the football. So if you can stop them from running, you might want to look at the North Ridgeville footage, because North Ridgeville did a heck of a job containing that Olmsted Falls offense this year. So Olmsted Falls, though, they just came off of a big game scoring a lot of points. So I'm sure they're gearing up and ready to go, but it's tough to stop this team from running the football successfully. So we'll see what Olmsted Falls can do here. They're hitting on all cylinders right now after that last game. Let's see if they can continue there.
And, it'll be a similar drive for Avon Lake, the number 7 seed, going up to White House to take on Anthony Wayne. We just talked about it with Anthony Benedict. I'm not really sure there's too much more to add to that. They're going to run. Their plan is to run the ball and set up the pass. And we'll see. We'll see if that's successful. I mean, White House, Anthony Wayne's a very good team, and that's going to be a great battle there. And then finally, North Ridgeville takes on Highland. Rob, let's stick with you here. North Ridgeville, a very good season up to this point, 8-3. some good victories over Avon Lake and Olmsted Falls. What do they need to do against Highland?
Well, North Ridgeville, they're hoping to get their starting quarterback back, and he's on the right track. Coach Morgan didn't say if he would play in this game, but said he's trending in the right direction. And Zach Barnhart, he also had some limited play last week, so it was good to see him back. He ran the ball really strong. If they get those two back, this North Ridgeville offense, even last week, you could tell Brennan Watchhorn's gaining that confidence. They can pass when needed, but Charlie Steinmetz is the guy you really want to key on. I mean, this guy can not only run the football, but when he's a wide receiver, he makes plays. So if I'm Highland, you got to key on their major athletes. They do have a lot of good running backs. You probably want to stop the running game, obviously, and force North Ridgeville to pass. And then if North Ridgeville gets down too much here, it's going to be tough for them to crawl back. I know that's the one thing. Once they get down in a game, it is tough to start chipping away. But they're going to have their hands full with Highland. I mean, Highland's a team that's all around just a fundamentally good team. You can't turn the ball over if you're North Ridgeville. Defensively, North Ridgeville's physical and tough. They're really going to have to match up with this Highland Hornet team, and it should be a good game. There's no doubt about that.
Sean, what do you got from the Highland side?
Well, to answer everything Rob just said, I think this is going to be not a great night for North Ridgeville fans, because I just don't see a world where Highland stops playing at the high level they're playing. Whether it's Kaiser or whether it's Penicus, whether it's Syriac, whether it's the punt team, the kickoff team. I mean, Highland can score pretty much from any phase of the game. Now, they also are not afraid to be in a rock fight. We saw that against Aurora in Week 10 for the championship. So they have that grit about them a little bit, that, to borrow a phrase from Dan Campbell in Detroit, they're made with grit, right? They can do what they do. They're not afraid. They have the ability to put points on the board, to blow out the scoreboard. They also have the ability to get down in the mud and fight. And I guess it just depends on what kind of team North Ridgeville is. I mean, they can stop the run, sure. Again, North Ridgeville not sure about their quarterback coming in. That's a question mark to me, given how good this Highland defense is. Not as historically good as it was last year coming into the playoffs, but still very, very effective. And they do get very good pressure on the quarterback week in and week out to make life really hard, no matter who's in there at quarterback. I'm agreeing with Rob. I think this has the makings of a good game, but I also think it has the makings of a game that could turn on its head pretty quickly. And once Highland gets rolling downhill, very tough to stop this team.
And some great matchups here in Division 2, Region 6. All right, Division 3, Region 9. The defending state champion Canfield Cardinal is going to travel to Youngstown, right in their backyard, basically, to take on Ursuline. Chardon is going to take on Geneva on the east side. Gilmore Academy is going to take on Aurora. I'll get to that in a second. And Kenston is going to take on Cleveland Villa Angela St. Joseph. Aurora, again, very, very good victory over Alliance. Gilmore is no slouch themselves. They've played a lot of teams in our coverage area. So what does Aurora need to do to get the victory here?
Well, first thing they need to do is continue to ride Enzo Cantanilla. The guy's been a workhorse for them all year. Second thing they got to do is they got to get a little clarity on whether or not Brandon Leipitz can come back, because he was another. Not only can he run that offense, but he also adds another a layer of rushing attack to them. He runs the ball very well, but he also can throw the ball. And I think last week Aurora was able to get away by leaning heavily on Cantanilla against Alliance, but also getting Leipitz back. Again, he's coming out. He got a concussion, so those are kind of tricky. Normally, they're very cautious about that. And Coach Mahalik was the first to say he's not going to rush anyone back. But you'd like to have your starting quarterback who's been there all year for that team come out there and lead that team against, like you said, at a very, very good Gilmore Academy team. I think a 6 is a misnomer when you talk about seeding this team. I think they could have easily been a 4, possibly even a 3 if we're really having that conversation. But Gilmore is a very, very good team. And again, Aurora's got the benefit of playing them at home, another home game. So that definitely helps them out going into this week. But again, just got to get some clarity on whether or not Leipitz is going to play. And again, continue their great defense and running the ball with Cantanilla.
Very good. And then lastly, Division III, Region 10, Toledo Central Catholic is going to host Defiance. Defiance, I didn't realize they made almost a 2 hour, maybe 2.5 hour drive to Bay to get that win. So they're not going to have to travel too far to take on Toledo Central Catholic, but it's a tough task there. Ontario's going to travel to Tiffin to take on Columbian. Norton's going to take on Buckeye. So you have an undefeated Norton squad. The champions of the Metro Athletic Conference are going to take on the champions or the co-champions of the Great Lakes Conference East Division. For Buckeye, the biggest key is going to be able to, for Troy McCann and Gage Nagy, to continue to be able to run behind Ben Medea in that really good offensive line. Casey Murray is a very, very good passer when he's being efficient with the amount of throws he has. If it ends up getting into a shootout where he has to pass the ball a lot, he's just a little bit less efficient. We're used to seeing him going maybe 5 of 6 or 8 of 10, maybe 9 of 11 in their winning efforts. In the losing efforts, he's 9 of 20, or he's throwing more than we are used to seeing him throw. So the biggest key for Buckeye, in my opinion, is for them to be able to control the ball, keep Norton off the field, as we've talked about with some of the other teams that are underdogs from a seeding perspective. And we'll see if Buckeye can't get out of Norton with a victory. Norton was able to get by a very tough a game Copley team last year or 2 years ago, and then then the Holy Name got him. So we'll see if Norton can advance further in the playoffs here. Then Rocky River is going to travel to Mansfield Senior. Mansfield is an excellent squad down right in between Cleveland and Columbus, right on Route 71. The TYGERS Tigers. That is, their only losses are to St. Vincent St. Mary and Massillon, Washington, the Massillon. But they've run roughshod over everybody else since then. And for Rocky River, we're used to seeing them pile up the points. They played a very tough Clyde team last week. Julian Patty and Nick DeSalvo had games that would be very good for about 90% of high schoolers. But for given what they've been able to do over the course of the season, we weren't used to seeing them limited as far as the points are concerned. So we'll see if Patty and the offensive line and DeSalvo and Ryan Ricchetti and Oren Grieve and Rowan McDougall and that tremendous offense can get on track here against a very good Mansfield Senior team. And if they can do that, then we'll have a pretty good chance of them potentially taking on Toledo Central Catholic in the next round. All right, that is what we have. That's all we got here for our episode, for our show. I think we are going to cover 2 games next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow! Oh man! Oh dear!
Oh, okay. And we have
wait, what did you do with Sean? And wait,
what's that?
Wait, where's Noah at too? We lost some guys apparently.
I think Noah was too busy calling a pass play instead of a run play yesterday. That's what it looks like to me.
Oh, there it is, Jeffy. Oh,
so next week, I believe we have 2 games on the docket. I think we talked about them earlier today. So where are we going for week 2 or week 12, week 2 of the playoffs? How about we start?
He's eating. Noah, he's eating.
How about we start with Coach Stefanski?
Well, guys, my very good friend Kevin, he said that last week was a very good game at Barberton and their stadium was nice. But there's one stadium that I haven't been to. It's Arkwright Stadium. And Jess has been talking to me about it, how awesome it is, and how I've never experienced it. And I'm excited to experience it Friday night. As Division I, Region 1, the regional quarterfinal in this matchup, the number 6 seed, the Medina Bees out of the Greater Cleveland Conference, they'll be taking on the number 3 seed and the Suburban League Natty Conference champion, the Wadsworth Grizzlies. It feels like this game has all the makings in Division 1 Region 1. It feels like both of these offenses, they can really contribute on both of the passing and running. And it feels like the defenses, they're going to need to play their biggest game because I feel like both of these offenses it's going to be a very high scoring affair in this one. And we'll see how it ends up, kind of like how it was with the game I featured last week.
There we go.
Nice.
Medina traveling to Wadsworth in Division One, Region 1. And,
Wait.
I believe we have our second game picked
Yeah, I
as
think
well.
he's done eating his peanut butter cup and is ready
Yes.
to tell us where he's going.
That was a very underrated Reese's Ghost.
Oh, wow.
For the season. But I'm going to go out to Aurora Way and visit the Greenmen as they host the Gilmore Academy. It's going to be a good game. Gilmore played Buckeye earlier in the year. It was a really good game for them. I think this has the makings to be a really good game. So I'm out to the people at Aurora. Check your email. You'll get an email from sportsontap.podcast@gmail.com requesting a field pass for that one. But looking forward to seeing that one this Friday.
Nice.
Right, so we are going to be at Aurora taking on Gilmore Academy and Medina taking on Wadsworth. I would be remiss if we did not mention a couple other teams that I mentioned earlier. Again, the Rittman Indians had a very, very good effort against Cuyahoga Heights. They fall just short, 41-40. Lowville, my wife's alma mater, takes out Steubenville Central Catholic 34-0. They will take on Berlin Center Western Reserve, who dealt them their only loss of the season back in week 4 or something like that. Sean, I'm going to give you the floor here. Not only to
let's go to the proud alum.
Yeah.
Look at him, everyone.
What? You got a problem with me? Huh? You got a problem with me? What? What, Alliance? You got something to say?
They're like,
the only real Aviators this
I'd
time
love
to
this.
win in the playoffs. And guess who that is? The Vandalia Butler Aviators beating Elida 17-0. You know what they get? You know what they get as reward? One more week of playing football. And who do they play? The Wapakoneta. That's right, Wapakoneta. I don't know the name of their mascot because no one cares. Let's go, Butler. Let's get psyched. If you want to see the best in all the world of high school football, you better be logging on to Sports on Tap on YouTube. Click subscribe. Hit the notifications button. Tell your mom. Tell your sister. Throw a banana at me. You got to get the best in the game. I'm not going to say anything more. Just go, Butler. Let's do this. And I'm going to get some candy.
You know what? I'm going to guess that anybody from Vandalia is going to say, I don't have a clue who that is. I don't know that guy. He didn't go to school here.
Guys, what happened? I blacked out. What happened? I don't know what happened. What happened? I blacked out.
That is Professor Hype at his finest, or worst,
my
depending on how you perceive that. But as he mentioned, make sure you like us on YouTube, hit the subscribe, smash the notifications, and get those notifications when we're about to go on the air. Follow us on Twitter/X at SOT Podcast. Again, you're gonna you get live updates of the games that we're gonna be at this coming week. Follow us on Threads at SOT_podcast. Of course, on Facebook, Sports on Tap, and check out our website, sportsontappodcast.com. Any sort of scores, statistics, pronunciations, comments, send them to sportsontappodcast@gmail.com. For Rob Chopman, Noah Jacobson, Josh Jeffy, and Sean Duffy, my name is Ed Dick. This is the Sports on Tap High School Football Show presented by Ray Felton State Farm Insurance. Stay tuned for more awards from our other tremendous sponsors, and we will see you on the other side.
See ya. Good luck, everybody.
Twix is the best candy.
Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
For handmade quality leather products, check out Hand and Built Leather Goods. Check out their website, www.handbuiltleather.com. GV Art and Design, original and one of a kind. Check them out on their website at www.gvartwork.com and use the code ONTAP10 to get 10% off your full order. GV Art and Design.